And welcome back to BFG, the Barely Functional Gamers Podcast, episode 50. I'm Chris.
David.
And you can catch us live every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/barelyfunctionalgamers and on any of your podcasting apps. You can also follow us on Twitter at BFGS Podcast, on SoundCloud, and on SoundCloud and YouTube under the Barely Functional Gamers name, and on the Instagram at Barely Functional Gamers. Holy shit, I don't have my board in front of me, so I'm gonna fuck up. Oh, by the way, we do curse, so this is not a family-friendly show?
Child-friendly?
Child-friendly, there we go.
Depends on the family.
Yes. Anyhow, there's gonna be a lot of cursing. And we're gonna be interviewing with Erik Kristopher Myers.
Yep.
So, might as well get this going.
Yeah, let's give him a call.
Yeah.
Let's give this.
All right.
Yes, via Skype.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
how you doing?
Doing well. Can you see me, or do you need me to switch that over?
I think you need to switch to video.
yes.
All right, give me one sec. Let's see. You guys got everything situated with the Mac or with the PC on your end?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just wonderful timing.
I decided to kill. Whoop.
And we lost him.
Oh boy.
Let's try this again.
We could do this. There we go.
Let's try this again. You can
There
see
we
me?
go.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we can see you.
Awesome. Right on. Salute.
Salut. All right. I guess we'll just hop right into it.
Yeah.
So first question we got for you is, in making this movie, where did you draw your inspiration?
It was a couple of places. The first thing is that I'm really into urban legends and the paranormal and cryptozoology and all that fun stuff. I'm a skeptic. Skeptic being that, I'm more interested sort of in belief systems and why people believe all this funky sort of stuff. And I was trying to think of what movie I was going to make next. My last film was called Roulette, came out in 2013, and I wanted to do something along those lines, all about skeptical inquiry. And I saw a trailer for a found footage movie. It might have been the most recent Paranormal Activity or something like that. And I started thinking about, what's the story these films never tell, which is who found the found footage. And that really incited the concept.
Nice. Did you go to any of the locations, being that you're on the east side, did you go to any of the locations like the Mothman or the Jersey Devil?
Having grown up in that whole region, I've visited as many of those spots as I possibly can. I mean, I've spent a week at Loch Ness. I've sort of bounced all around. So, yeah, I'm so into that stuff. And any opportunity to go and check out the real environment, 100%. And the place where we filmed Butterfly Kisses, it's a place called Ellicott City. And Ellicott City is reputedly haunted. So, the whole environment, I grew up there, and it's like, every bar, every shop has got a ghost story. There have been books written on the subject. So I've marinated in these sort of locations.
Nice.
Cool. And was this character based off of an actual legend, or did you make it up completely?
It's like the one location in haunted Ellicott City that doesn't have a specific ghost story. This train tunnel. Teenagers, as told in the film, they really do go and hang out at this place all hours of the night and scare themselves, and something weird happened, and the place is haunted, but there's no boogeyman, no rules. So since Butterfly Kisses is this weird meta, fake documentary that's blending real people with actors, fact and fantasy, I was like, let me take a place that's really got a reputation, but let me give it a boogeyman and give it specific rules. And, again, just kind of blur the lines between what is real and what is not.
Very cool.
So with all this knowledge, did you take any steps to try to help further the story of the Butterfly Kisses? Like anything thrown out there?
Yeah, I did. When we were in production with the film, I kept it really hush-hush. And, I'm by no means a famous filmmaker, but at least here on the Eastern Seaboard, there were enough people that knew of me after Roulette came out that, they were aware, people were aware I was making another film, and we were keeping it very under the radar. And so there were a lot of questions being asked. So that right there just kind of built kind of a mystery box, for lack of a better term. And while we're making the film and telling nobody what it is, we're not telling them if it's a documentary, we're not telling them what's it about, who's in it. I was writing articles about the Blink Man or Peeping Tom or, whatever name generationally you supposedly heard about this Ellicott City boogeyman growing up. I was writing articles on the internet for various paranormal websites, and they were all under pseudonyms.
Nice.
And just, putting the word out there that this was supposedly a real legend. And independent of the film, it started to take on a life of its own. The character ended up on paranormal YouTube shows. It ended up on Creepypasta, on Reddit. It's even on the Ellicott City tourism website. He's gotten chapters in books that have been written about Ellicott City, and it's just kind of mind-blowing to look at the bibliographies and see sources cited that are me writing under assumed handles.
Nice.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Oh, man.
So I hear you're a bit of a video gamer, yeah?
I am a little bit of a video gamer. Yes, I am. I wasted a lot of time as a teenager doing PC games, and I try to limit how much of my life I spend as a 43-year-old, because otherwise I won't get involved. So,
yeah, too true. What would be your? Well, what are you currently playing? If you're playing anything,
I am dying to finally pick up a PS4 so that I can not only play Marvel SpiderMan, which I know is supposed to be like the greatest game in the world, but I'm also, as a horror movie guy, dying to pick up the Friday the 13th game. Have you guys played that?
Yes, yeah. I actually have it.
Is it as righteous as everybody says it is?
It is. Only thing I have an issue with is the fact that if the person running the game is playing one of the survivors, the campers, right, if they die, people tend to just stop the game, so the whole game is canceled.
Oh, so, that sucks.
Yeah, that's the only thing I have an issue with it. But otherwise, it's a lot of fun.
I mean, I could see why, if you're the person who dies, why you'd be like, well, F this, I'm done. But that sucks for everybody else. Is it better to be Jason, or is it better to be the campers?
It really depends. I enjoy playing the camper, but that's because I put a whole character behind it, and I like to play around and make fun of stuff and like tease Jason. But I also played Jason a couple times. It's a lot harder than I expected him to be.
So if, like, each various open world level you can play is from a different movie in the franchise, right?
Yeah.
So which movie do you tend to play if you play it? Do you let Jason choose, or do the campers choose?
Usually I believe it's the host that chooses. I can't remember. It's been a while. But the one that I played the most of was, I want to say 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was as a camper... you choose your loadout. You can choose what your preferred camper is, and then as Jason, you pick your loadout. So it's like what version of him with what ability, stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
That's nice. Yeah. That is so cool. Yeah, I've got a surgery coming up, and kind of my present to myself, I think, is going to be a PS4 just for Friday the 13th and Marvel Spider-Man.
Oh, definitely worth it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I guess I have another question then. If you were to make a horror video game, what genre of game would you make it?
I'm thinking, I mean, you got to do the open world. I love RPGs. I love games like Skyrim. That's part of what appeals to me for the Spider-Man game and for the Friday the 13th game. And nothing would be cooler as a filmmaker than to be able to make a film of your own that could be translated into some sort of open world game that other people were playing. I've got this dream film that I desperately want to make. It's called Smilers, and it's like my horror opus. And it is set out in the middle of nowhere in this backwoods mountain sort of town. And it's just screaming for an open world video game. It would be so super cool.
Nice. Would you be playing as the hero or as the villain or the survivor?
I feel like personally I want to play as the monster in any of these games because come on, we've all seen enough horror movies to know that these people are effing annoying and they're kind of specifically there to get on your nerves so that you fist bump when they die.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's
very cool.
If you could make any video game into a movie, you have one in mind.
Oh, that's so tough. I did a video game podcast recently where I was talking about, I don't know what your age bracket is, but I grew up not only playing consoles, but the King's Quest games were like my jam. The early Sierra video games that were like the proto 3D RPG sort of things. I would love to make a King's Quest movie.
That'd be kind of cool.
I know they've tried to bring it back as a video game a couple of times, but oh man, it's like, Lord of the Rings meets bedtime stories. It's great.
Oh man,
very cool. And what projects do you have in the works right now?
Right now I'm mostly sort of doing signings and events about Butterfly Kisses, and I've got like 3 different movies sort of in my back pocket, and I'm trying to figure out, is it going to be the ones made for $5, the ones made for $10, or the ones for $15? So hopefully by the end of the year, I'll know which one it's going to be, and I'm really hoping it's the $15 movie.
Nice.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. I was thinking with Butterfly Kisses, that would be kind of a cool horror detective type game. Where you're trying, the way you see, because it's all dark, the way you see is through the camera, and you use that as the light. That would be kind of cool.
So kind of like a first-person shooter, except instead of shooting a gun, you're shooting a camera, something like that.
Yes.
That's kind of righteous. I think you need to get on this right now and make it happen.
Only if I had the skills.
Do it. Come on, learn some basic HTML. You can make that happen. HTML, that's like wrong generation, but still.
What is it? C++?
I'm a creative guy. I'm not a techie, so I feel you.
Yeah. Same here. I'm an artist, but I can't program for shit.
No. Well, that's the same thing with film. It's like you got the concept, and then you find the people who can execute all of that technical stuff that you can't do.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you could make a game, what would it be? What genre would it be?
Me, side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Nice.
Yeah, because I grew up on like Ninja Turtles Arcade, Streets of Rage 2, stuff like that.
Nice.
Great games. And I think I would want to make it something about almost like if you took like Scooby-Doo and like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and you just had like a bunch of people that go like monster and ghost hunting across the country. And
that's kind of cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I grew up in the arcades playing things like Altered Beast and the original Double Dragon and whatnot. And when I got my first Sega Genesis, Streets of Rage, that was just the game. That was so badass. That and Golden Axe, which are basically the same game, if you break it down. But oh my god, that I miss the side-scrolling platform, kick-ass sort of things. That I just. It's cool because as we move forward and we've got all this first-person stuff or 3D sort of worlds, there's so much more you can do with games, but there's just something so awesome and quaint about platformers that I don't see anymore, and I just miss.
Looking into Streets of Rage 4. You should look at that.
Yeah, it's been announced. Yeah, Streets of Rage 4.
Is it going to be a side-scroller?
Yeah, it's just like 2 and 3. There's a trailer for it now.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it looks pretty badass.
Streets of Rage 4. Did either of you guys ever play in the arcade the SpiderMan game, the one that's never been released on any console ever?
I remember
it's a Sega game.
I remember playing one. I can't remember what the name of it was, but yes, I can't recall it ever seen it anywhere. So I think I know what you're talking about, and this was like in the 90s, I think.
It was in the early 90s. It was around the time of the Ninja Turtles arcade game, the Avengers game, the X-Men game, the Simpsons game, and it was like you could be Spider-Man, Hawkeye, Black Cat, and I think Namor. And it was a side-scroller, but it was constantly changing from the standard side scroller to suddenly you'd blow up and you'd be bigger and it'd be more like a 3D sort of environment, and then it would go back to a side scroller. Really, really cool. And I don't know why that game has never been released, but it was so righteous.
Yeah, it was probably licensing issues. Yeah. It's probably the same reason we've never seen like the Simpsons Arcade on a home console.
Yeah.
Do you remember who made that?
Claim, right?
Which one? The Simpsons? That was Konami.
Konami.
That was Konami.
Right, that's right.
Konami. Yeah, that's just crazy that it's never been released. I mean,
I
thought that Spidey game would come out being that it was made by Sega, but that was around the time of the Sega CD, which never went anywhere, and then Dreamcast, the death knell for Sega. So
yeah,
I don't know. With all these games sort of floating and rights issues, it's. But then you're able to go and buy classic Sonic package. You know what I mean, with all the Sonic games. So.
Sega fell to Nintendo, so they had to keep that one.
Yeah. I'm assuming you guys have read the Console Wars book, right?
Actually, no, I haven't.
I haven't read the book. No.
Wow.
It is so awesome. I think that there's been a lot of talk about being made into a film. But it's it's just so cool. It's all about the rise sort of Sega from the original Master System to the Genesis, and how they, specifically developed Sonic to be sort of like the Jolt Cola, to what Mario was, milk and cookies for kids, and how they really tried to take on Nintendo, and then Nintendo did their 16-bit system, and just the back and forth, and so cool.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be a good movie. I know. I watch YouTube videos all the time of people that kind of talk about this issue, so I can totally see that being a full-fledged movie. That'd be dope.
Right on. So Sega or Nintendo? What's your vote?
I was more of a Sega kid, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I had both systems, but I had more games for my Genesis than I did for my Super Nintendo. Definitely.
Me too.
Let's see. For me, I have to say Nintendo, only because that was the only console I was able to have up until, I bought my own. So, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I dug the Genesis. That was my thing. And, I got the original one that came with Altered Beast. And then I got Sonic later on, and I started collecting all the games. And the only reason I picked up Super Nintendo, other than the fact that I still think that Super Mario World is just a masterpiece. It's like it is the best game in that entire franchise. The reason that I sprung for a Super Nintendo was the Super Star Wars games.
Oh yes, those are cool. Those are very cool.
It's like, I don't know why LucasArts never made any games after that where you were able to actively play the trilogy. You know, I mean, that was like a holy grail in the 90s when Star Wars kind of died out. It was like, I can play the movies. And they've never done that since.
Yeah.
We'll see, because I guess technically Disney owns all the rights for that now, so who knows? Maybe they'll dig into the library and release something. That would be nice.
I was looking into something. Lucasfilms is trying to do a side story of like Jedis and Sith. So I know they're trying to do something of that nature, which might fall more towards the books. The fan fiction, so I mean that could be cool too.
Yeah.
So kind of like a Knights of the Old Republic reboot sort of thing.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like all that stuff. It's just as a classic, as a kid of the '80s, I'd give me the original trilogy. Let me play those, especially when you play something like The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Which is, aside from the fact that I don't like the prequels, and the iconography kind of turns me off. The actual ability to use force powers and to do stuff with lightsabers, first person or third person is so badass. And I'm like, let me do that with Luke. Let me do that with Han. Let me do that with Chewie and a bowcaster. That's just that's just so cool. And I don't know why they haven't done that yet.
I couldn't say. Yeah, no, that would be badass. I would actually probably like to play as Darth Maul. I love the way his fighting style. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is pretty kick-ass. I mean, he's like one of the redeeming qualities of the prequel trilogy. Of course, I mean, they he was in the movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is pretty righteous. Yeah, I'd rather be Darth Vader, given the choice.
yeah,
true.
Same here.
True. Just force choke everybody.
Exactly. Or pull a Rogue One and just, lift people up on the ceiling and then slice them as you go past. And
that was just such an awesome scene.
Yes.
I loved it.
It was like Darth Vader in a horror movie. It was like going back to Friday the 13th. He was like Jason. He appeared there in the darkness, and then he just decimated everybody. Having that one, rebel soldier who's banging on the glass and being like, "Please let us out." I mean, I was like, this is a slasher movie for like 30 seconds.
That would be amazing.
He was a fucking boogeyman in that.
Yeah, that would be amazing to see a Star Wars version of a slasher movie.
Ooh,
that would be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do it for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, however long they do these films now, but just that sequence was enough that I got to go to a press screening of that. And, there was a muzzle on us when we left. We couldn't talk on social media or whatever.
Right.
But all I was just telling everybody, no spoilers, but this movie has like one of the definitive, if not the definitive, Darth Vader moments of all time. It was just so cool. I was like, that's why he's scary.
Yeah.
That is why he's scary. That's why everybody, trembles in fear whenever he appears on the video feeds or whatever. So cool. And he doesn't, he didn't have a problem with sand in that particular movie. He wasn't whining about sand. So,
right.
I take that as a plus.
Yes. What'd you think of Solo?
Didn't like it.
No.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
At all.
I like the fact that they kind of had 3 different types of movies in one, but I felt like they could have done it a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, the first problem for me, and I've heard a lot of people say this, and as a filmmaker, it just baffled me, which was the fact that you couldn't see anything. The movie was so dark, and I don't mean like, it was like dark, like The Empire Strikes Back was dark, or even that it used, minimalist lighting or whatever. I mean, that movie was ugly looking. It looked like they did not have lights on set. And it was so bad that when I saw it in the theater, my first thought was there's something wrong with the projector. The bulbs aren't working properly or something. And then I saw it a second time with my son, and I was like, this is a different theater on a different day, and it still looks like garbage. And picked up the Blu-ray, and just as bad. As bad. Yeah. But beyond all that, I'm like, it's an unnecessary film. It doesn't give us anything that we necessarily needed to know, and yeah.
And we do have a viewer that commented. It's the Joe Cardman. He said, "Butterfly Kisses is probably the best movie in its genre." So,
really?
Just to let you know.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. Salutes. If it's better than Solo, I'm going to take that as an enormous compliment.
No.
Oh,
Jesus
God, yes.
God.
That's
that
like
was
saying my vomit is better to clean up than my dog's vomit, because I at least eat human food. So, yeah.
I don't know about
where that comparison came from, but here it is. Here it is.
I know I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Butterfly Kisses. It was really good.
It was great.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because especially on a long day at the footage festival, it was one of the movies that I was able to like actually watch and not doze off a little bit on a long day.
So did you see it at the 2019 festival or at the 2018 festival?
2019. Yeah.
So what else were highlights for you? What else did you like at the fest? Because I really wanted to make it out to the West Coast, and I wasn't able to be there, so I missed everything that was playing. What were the standout films?
What was that one from Costa Rica? God damn it! I'm trying to remember now what the name of the thing was. But there was this film from Costa Rica, and it was more of a comedy.
Yeah.
But it was very entertaining, so that really kept me going.
Not Los Rotos. Oh crap! Yeah, I can't remember. Jesus Christ! It was a good movie though. I definitely laughed a lot.
Well, that's one of the cool things with that particular subgenre of film. I mean, you can do horror, or in my case, I sort of did like a deconstruction of what the genre is. But you can also do comedy, and I mean, if you wanted to do it in a sci-fi format, you could do sci-fi. You could do a comedy film. You could do something that's superheroes, like the what was the Josh Trank movie that was made, Chronicle. You can do stuff like that. It's a fun and flexible sort of subgenre.
Yeah, and Murder Box.
Murder Box, yeah.
Murder Box. I
heard really good things about that.
Yeah, because because Geraldson was there in person, and so he did his little comedy stand-up right before the movie played. So that was like a nice intro to his movie.
So how did you guys get hooked up with the fest? So do you know all the Overlook guys and girls? Or, were you just popping in? What was the...
No, I work with Clark and Russell over at Stitch Fix, and so that's how I met them. And just from there, we went and had fun. I'm Eddie the Gamer Ghoul on their reviews, whenever they do reviews for the Overlook... crap, I forgot what it's called exactly. But yeah, when they do reviews of movies, so...
Right on. I've talked to Clark not only via email, but I've been on the podcast a couple times. I've chatted with him several times. Awesome, dry, hilarious guy. Russell's he's so badass. You know, I met him on the West Coast when Butterfly Kisses played at the Silver Scream Festival, and that was the first time he saw the movie, and he actually chased me out of the theater to grab me on the street and ask me if he could play it at UFF in 2018, and that led to a friendship that has been really, really cool. He came out to Philly because we played at Puff in September of 2018. So he was doing the Q&A for it. I mean, those guys, Oksana and everybody is so fantastic from that particular venture. They're so great, and they've been incredibly supportive of the film in a way that, as an independent filmmaker, as you're trying to find an audience, what they have done for the movie, what you guys are doing right now, giving it a spotlight for however long, that's what makes these films available to a wider audience. That's how people find it. So, I can't thank you enough.
Oh, trust us. No. We thank you.
Thank you. Really.
We definitely need this.
Totally. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about video games, which I don't get to do very often, so I'm down.
Hey. So I'm going to shoot one idea past you real quick, just because we were talking about the other day. Talking about like making a horror video game. So I was thinking, what about a puzzle horror game, right? So think of it more like Saw, where you're in some sort of contraption and you have to solve these puzzles, like Tetris or something, in order to get out. Now, have you seen Tetris 99? That came out on the Switch?
No, because I don't have a Switch.
Okay.
So I have not played that. I'm like an old school Tetris guy.
So Tetris 99, it's 99 people playing together online, and you're all eliminating each other as you play. So what if it was like a horror puzzle game in that style where you're all just trying to kill each other off so that you're the last survivor?
Cool. And would it be like first person solving things like in the Arkham games where you're, whether you're picking locks or you're doing stuff like that, would it be puzzles kind of like that as well? Or like fetch quest sorts of things to, find this key that opens that door that does whatever? Or a mix?
It could be a mix. I was thinking, actually that wouldn't be a bad idea if you were to like go to certain locks, and every time you go to a lock, then it brings up like a mini game. That'd be kind of interesting. And you're just screwing everybody over so that you're the survivor.
What is it? Escape. So I don't know if you've seen that movie, Escape. It was an escape room.
About escape room.
Yeah. Right. If you had something like that where you had to open the puzzle and each room was next to each other, so each player was in a different room, and every time the person succeeded to get out of that room, the other room would kill the person in that room. That could be
nice.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about? I mean, you mentioned the fact earlier that like playing something like Friday the 13th, if you're playing with other players, people who die off are like, okay, well, I'm done with the game. Is the fact that you can do multiplayer, online sort of playing, is that a benefit with gameplay versus playing against your computer or playing against your console, where it's doing all the various characters for you? I mean, what are the pluses and minuses? I mean, at least for me, it's always been really hard. And going back to the 80s when I was a pen and paper, D&D guy and all of that stuff, it's the same problem I had with being in garage bands. It's like, how do you get everybody scheduled to work together and, make sure that this is a positive thing?
I say, for me, it's positive in the fact that it makes things more terrifying whenever you have someone who's a living being behind the target that you're after, or the one that's after you. Also, the idea of just being able to share stories with other people within the communities that automatically grow from being online. So I would say those are the major positives. The negatives?
Well, positive for me would be the challenge aspect, because being an old school gamer, once you learn the pattern,
Right.
You can do it every time. No problem. So yeah, having an actual person that thinks and changes and adjusts to what you're doing, makes it much more challenging and fun.
So how is that versus playing like an old school 2-player game where you've got somebody sitting literally right next to you and you're just, pulling a Paul Rudd and 40-Year-Old Virgin, and you're just making fun of one another and stuff like that? I mean, do you do like the headpieces so that you're communicating with whoever you're playing with?
Yeah.
Or do you just go, I don't want to know. I want to make this like real life, and I do not want to know what they are thinking in this particular moment, but I do know that there's somebody behind that avatar. That is a real person that I'm trying to kill or trying to beat, or first-person shooter, whatever.
Yeah, I think for me, if it's a versus game, then I don't want to know who it is.
See, I have to disagree, because I was playing. I've been playing a lot of DayZ on Steam. And you have the opportunity or the option to use the VoIP within the game, which you push a button and you speak. So the person has the choice to say something or not. And I kind of like that, because the further away you might hear somebody. These two might be talking with each other, trying to collaborate, and you can sneak up and hear them. I like that idea.
Nice.
Yeah, I prefer to talk to someone or be like on the same couch playing if it's a co-op game, though.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just it's the shit talk, as you're making fun of whoever you're pounding or yelling at them as they're pounding you.
Right.
Yeah.